Good evening, everybody, or morning, wherever, whenever you may be. This is Gorgon, going and casting another wonderful game of Dota on a beautiful day here from scenic Ann Arbor, Michigan. So, today we have vVv Victim versus Team Chibiusa. Team Chibiusa getting the first ban. And they're going to go ahead and ban out the OD, a strong ban, a very, very popular hero here in the current meta. Good against just about any mid. Sans Razor and a couple of other heroes, a handful that don't get played quite that often. Typically, OD is going to run amok mid and almost guarantee an early win in that lane. The one thing that OD doesn't do so much is he doesn't typically rotate early. So if you are a team that wants to have strong rotation power, giving up the OD isn't the end of the world. But vVv Victim going ahead and getting rid of that Wisp, also an extremely strong hero against any team who knows how to run him. But Wisp is one of these heroes that requires not one player, but two players who are willing and capable to play that hero. It requires extreme teamwork in the most extreme sense. We're talking razor blades and bungee jumping. So, vVv Victim doesn't want to take the chance and gets rid of him. The Darkseer ban coming out of Team Chibiusa. And of course, Darkseer has always been one of these heroes that is first pick, first ban for most teams, most levels of play. Not that hard to learn, but he scales with skill, and he goes all the way up to the highest tiers of play as one of the most sought-after heroes, despite perpetual nerfs. They've gone ahead over time and taken away some of the power of Ion Shell. They took away the power of Ion Shell and Spirit Bear combo, which was absolutely nasty, especially when the old No Tide Hunter, which many of those players ended up becoming the Alliance that we all know and love. They would run that like nobody else would. And Darkseer has managed to survive all his tribulations and still remain one of the strongest heroes, especially offlane supports in the game. The Bat Rider coming out, and Abaddon. I do know that Team Chibiusa puts a lot more emphasis on this Abaddon pick than most teams do. The Naga Siren, immediate first pick. I would expect to see an Alchemist or an Axe come out with that Naga Siren. Maybe not first pick, depending on if vVv Victim has specific strategy in mind. They might pick up their carry right now, or they might wait a little bit and just see what they want to do depending on the picks that Team Chibiusa comes out with. So we will see what they want to do with that Naga Siren. The other thing that they could pull out right now, they're going to go ahead and grab a Weaver. That could be an offlane Weaver as a mid lane semi-support or semi-carry, or it could be their hard carry. Teams with the Naga Siren tend to run that Weaver as a hard carry. It's just a trend that I've noticed. I don't have any specific data on that. I'm not running some statistical analysis, but I have noticed that Naga Siren teams these days like to run Weaver as a hard carry. And part of the reason for that is the power of sleep to initiate, or to allow that Weaver to get into position so that he can scoochie in, scoochie out, and basically get in, allow the Naga Siren to get in, stop a fight, reset so the rest of the team can get in, and have that Weaver essentially run amok. So we get a Rubik pull out, and that Rubik, always a strong pick. It's rare to see a Rubik that goes useless. He's often playing aggressive tri-lanes. Abaddon can be, but Abaddon is more of a defensive hero typically. Although you can go ahead and shield up your teammates and have them dive towers, similarly to the way Tree can be played aggressively, but typically isn't. So I would expect to see a defensive tri-lane coming out of Chibiusa. But you never know. They do like to mix things up, as most teams do. So they're going to go ahead and get rid of a Puck, and they're going to go ahead and get rid of a Nyx. And I assume that Puck Nyx ban was under the assumption that a Nyx may come out. vVv Victim went and banned the Lifestealer themselves. Visage. There's the Visage, so we can be fairly sure that this is either an aggressive tri-lane or defensive tri-lane with aggressive warding. You don't get a Visage and a Naga Siren together unless you plan to do some damage. So an Alchemist here could really cause a Wrecking Ball crew, and I wonder if that means Team Chibiusa might want to try and just counterpick, grab that Alchemist. Would work well with a Rubik Abaddon. And essentially what Alchemist could do. is throw that stun or charge that stun as Rubik is lifting. Rubik will set down. Baden gets his nice slow, his Frostmourne, I believe it's called, Frostmourne's Blade, or Curse of Avernus. It's Frostmourne was Dota 1, I believe. Anyway, the slow from a Baden allows the Alchemist to keep up with vVv victim, whoever it is that is the victim of the Alchemist, and Alchemist can almost every time get a full charge stun, assuming that they're not going on the Weaver. So Alchemist does work really well with the Rubik, and it would prevent the vVv victim to grab him. However, if you grab an Alchemist, you are grabbing an Alchemist into a Naga Siren. That's what's so mean about grabbing the Naga Siren first. If you grab the Naga Siren, most of the heroes that pair very well with Naga Siren also counters very hard. Both Lifestealer and Alchemist, also Gyrocopter, who did end up being pulled by Team Chibiusa. All three of those heroes pair extremely well with Naga Siren and Sleep. And the combination between the fact that all of those heroes either use Rage or Black King Bar, and they all pair well with Naga Siren, means a first pick Naga Siren makes those heroes dangerous calls either way for the opponent team. So leaving that carry choice open, a good move on vVv victim's part. Team Chibiusa does not appear to be too worried about it. They did end up drafting a Gyrocopter into the Naga Siren. We will see if they end up running that as a standard carry Gyrocopter with the Black King Bar, or if they end up doing something more life-oriented so that they don't have the hard counter to the Black King Bar. Having a Visage and a Naga Siren, not to mention a farming carry, beating up on your Gyrocopter for 8 seconds during a Black King Bar can mean some very blue eyes. So we will see what they want to do with that. Another pick coming out here from vVv victim. We're going to be looking for a mid and potentially either an offlaner or a hard carry. It isn't really clear right now. There's a Slar that throws off my casting just a little bit. That Slar Slar can be run as a carry. Don't usually necessarily see him there. A lot of times you'll see him in a position that's a semi-carry, semi-support role. The nature of his ultimate, which is Amplify Damage, Amplify Damage works really well against heroes that are taking DPS. So Amp Damage will work really well with Weaver because the significant reduced armor will essentially maximize out that Weaver's damage, because Weaver's damage is almost all physical DPS, not a lot of magic. Which brings us to another point, that this early Rubik call has allowed vVv victim to minimize their magic damage dealers drafting, and they have been doing a pretty good job of that. They have the Visage, who pumps out a fair amount of magic damage. Otherwise, most of their damage right now is physical, so that Null Field is not going to maximize everything that it could be doing. Of course, if Team Chibiusa was specifically looking to keep nukers off the board from vVv victim so that they can try to keep their Gyrocopter alive as long as possible in fights and force the opponent's heroes to come in for fights within the range of Gyrocopter so that he can maximize his damage immediately and especially early, then that Rubik is doing exactly what they wanted. So it really depends on why the immediate troll ban coming out of Team Chibiusa. Not a ban you would normally see, because that's not a hero you would normally see played. Not very high in the meta. I'd consider maybe a tier 3 hero. You see him sometimes. He's not someone you never see, but he's someone that you rarely see, and you especially rarely see him banned. Of course, once again, Troll does work very well. Slardar alongside... There's the Alk. So that is exactly what I would have expected. And that is the ban that I would have expected out of Chibiusa. Quite honestly, I'm not 100% sure. The Troll is a decent ban in the sense that a Slardar can amplify damage onto Roche if somebody takes away his Lincolns, and help Troll get that much... essentially he can get his Roche done maybe a level or two earlier than he normally would, which is already extremely early, and give the team a very strong early advantage, maybe around 10-12 minutes. But I'm not 100% sure. They already have 2 ranged heroes, so they're not in desperate need of range. Of course, Troll can also go melee, but they have just... The Troll also does pair well with the Weaver, so I can kind of see what they were going for, but the Alchemist pretty much... If Alchemist is on the table, it's very rare for a Naga Siren team to not take the Alchemist as a farming carry if they're going to have a farming carry left. The Weaver could have been the farming carry, but then the Troll wasn't going to be picked up anyway. You would have seen someone more along the lines of maybe a Razor or a Viper, somebody who is a semi-carry, counter-carry to take a mid-roll. So, Chibiusa is taking quite a long time on this last pick. They've got themselves 30 more seconds. And vVv Victim, I didn't even notice, all the way down to 1 second here. So, long draft coming out. Both teams taking their time and looking for what they want to do. Chibiusa maybe was looking to pick up that Windrunner. They are taking quite a while, which might imply that their plans have changed. Maybe they also did not expect that Alchemist pick, though.
Dragon Knight.
Okay, they are going to go for a farming, or no, that's going to be a mid-Dragon Knight, off-lane Timbersaw with a defensive tri-lane Gyrocopter Rubik Abaddon. I assume that off-lane Timbersaw is probably going to block spawn. We'll probably see a bottom ward rune coming out of Team Chibiusa. Out of vVv Victim, their lanes are a little harder to call. I would expect this team, having not seen them play before, I would expect this team to do an aggressive tri-lane with the Alchemist, getting a stun Goblin's Greed build, along with the Naga Siren doing her waveform. I forget what exactly that's called. Her Riptide, along with Net, and with the Visage, doing an aggressive tri-lane, looking to get some early blood and looking to get that Alchemist some farm, allowing the Weaver to safe lane farm as much as possible, and putting the Slar mid. Out of those, I'd have to say the Slar mid is my least favorite of those calls. But looking at the Slar mid, I suspect that might be part of the call for the Dragon Knight. A melee hero who has been picking up a little bit of steam mid, does have Dragon Breath, can last hit and harass a little bit out of mid, but often has trouble against more traditional mid heroes like Queen of Pain, Puck, and even sometimes a Storm, because Storm can just go ahead and lay down those traps. We are going to see some movement early out of Chibiusa. Not a whole lot coming out, just standard. Okay, so they are going to defensively tri-lane this with the Slar. And they are going to mid-lane the Alk. This is a call that I don't know that I've seen a mid-lane Alk while you had a Naga Siren on the board, ever. Maybe once or twice. Not very common. You usually want to pair those up because the blood potential is just so strong. Let me go ahead and see if I can turn my... I'm not 100% sure where this is. Alright, why don't I read off the teams? We have Dragon 7 on the Visage, Dynasty on the Slardar. I'm Lan Winner, Doe on the Alchemist, Sly Martin on the Naga Siren, and Anti-Pump Stop on the Weaver. Misha playing the Dragon Knight. And I'll have to go to that Timbersaw to go ahead and see who's playing. Just a link to a Twitch, so we're going to go and call him Twitch. Link Dota looks like on the Timbersaw, Tabo on the Abaddon, Extravagant on the Gyrocopter, and F, the stand-in, playing for Rubik. It looks like we might have 2 stand-ins playing for Team Chibiusa right now. So I wonder if that will affect their teamwork. Normally a team that plays fairly tightly and involves a lot of great mid-play to dominate their early game. Now this Dragon Knight Alch mix-up, it's very hard to call who has the advantage here. Alchemist is going for an Acid Spray start, which is going to be rough on that Dragon Knight, who normally has a very high beginning armor. But standing that Acid, he gets rid of that advantage. And also does the DPS, damage over time, excuse me, that can be so rough. This defensive tri-lane should have no problem against this Weaver, who is just going to try and get his levels up. I'd expect this to be a support Weaver. And maybe a semi-carry if he gets going. He is going to do a little bit of harass to this Rubik, who is trying to zone him out. And some pinging coming out of Slar. No, that was pinging coming out of the Baden, who I assume just gave sentry wards. Yeah, sentry's just given over to the Rubik. He's going to drop one here, and they're going to lift, and they're going to rock rush, and that's probably first blood, yeah. Great play. Wonderful trade-off of the baton. Those wards, the Weaver had no idea those wards were there. Probably checked inventories just a second before, saw no wards, thought he was safe. Wards came out, and that was all she wrote. Great play. I love the trading of the wards there. It essentially made that play possible. Timbersaw did not block camp, it looks like. Not blocking camp as a Timbersaw makes it kind of difficult for him to get his levels. Because of reactive armor, he can hold up really well against a tri-lane. Even a tri-lane with kill potential. Especially if he allows himself to take a little bit of harassment damage from the creeps and then changes aggro. But he didn't block the camp, and it's difficult for him to contest this camp against 3 without the neutral creeps to maximize out his armor, reactive armor. It's just difficult to contest that pull. And if you can't contest that pull, you can't get your levels as well, and you really can't win your lane. So, unless Anti-Pubstomp manages to do something here and turn this around, I would go ahead and say, it looks like he's going to be losing his lane. This is just going to get more aggressive as time goes by. The lift, great against the Weaver. And they do have wards. Dropping an Observer as well, so they know where he is at all times. There's going to be a lift here. Yep. Abaddon's trying to do some damage, but they don't have Gyro here. They don't have the damage. Abaddon is going to dive, and oh, there it is, actually. They did have the damage. Weaver did not manage to Coochie far enough away. Another great play coming out of the stand-in F. Weaver teleporting back in immediately, trying to keep his levels up despite his deaths. He knows that if he's gone while these creeps hit the tower, he's going to lose all the experience he would have gotten. Sitting still at level 1, died twice. We're going to need some rotations coming out of the Radiant going top if they have any hope of keeping this lane going. Meanwhile, a death here on the Timbersaw, and that was probably exactly what I was saying. Very hard to contest any sort of farm, any sort of pulls with the Timbersaw when you don't have neutral creeps to bump up the reactive armor. I didn't see that death, but there's also a setup for the Slar stun with the net and the long Slar stun afterward, followed by a Visage slow. They are presumably farming up the Slar to be a semi-carry / carry role. Miss Potts is now playing Dota. Be our guest, be our guest. Alright, and so we will probably see the Slar building, I would imagine, a mid-game Vanguard. And yeah, he does have the Stout Shield. Probably going to go ahead and try and tank / semi-carry into the mid-game and get this Alchemist going. Alchemist, they see this Invis Rune, and they are going to go ahead and grab it for the Alchemist, it looks like. I probably would have given that to the Naga Siren instead. Alchemist's going to walk in, but in order to charge the stun, he's got to move that Invis Rune. Oh, he's got a bottle. He is going to pop the Invis. Pop his charge stun here. Dragon Knight hears it. He's thinking about backing up. Misha is caught by a fairly long stun. That's going to be the net in the acid. He's going to Dragon's Breath and hope that the tower can take out the Naga, but he can't. He gets a nice stun on the Alchemist, and that is a failed gank attempt from the Radiant. A beautiful turnaround from the mid player, Misha. He's got to go back and fill up his bottle. There's not going to be a rune for him to take it for another 2 minutes. And the Gyrocopter gets a hand of Midas up at 5 minutes. A very nice time for a safe lane Gyro. A hero that normally doesn't build a Midas within the current meta. That Midas, after 10 minutes or so, I think it is in fact exactly 10 minutes, but I'm not positive, pays for itself. So if expect by 20 minutes, 25 minutes, if we don't get some rotations to stop lane, and this Gyro's just allowed to farm, he'll be able to completely wreck out the team. I bet his current gold, or excuse me, his net worth is, yeah, it's well above the Alchemist, who should be out farming the Gyro. Let's see how many Greevil's greed. He's not Greevil's greeting at all. That is extremely questionable out of this Alchemist. No Greevil's greed at level 6. He's just trying to contest the farm of the Dragon Knight and not even managing to do it. The Dragon Knight has a marginal, at best, but notable net worth advantage over the Alchemist. Alchemist isn't going to have the opportunity to go and catch up farm if he doesn't start keeping up right now. When this Gyrocopter gets his whatever it is he's going, I'm not sure if he might be going for a Black King bar. It's too early to call. Just got an early Bassi and managed to grab that hand Midas. But his levels are going to be insane. His gold output is going to be insane. And Gyrocopter can flash farm late game too, so he's going to be able to keep up with this Alchemist who's got 0 Greevil's Greed mid-game. I don't know if this Alchemist, unless he makes a drastic change here in the near future, he does have a bobble up now. 6 and 40 seconds. Not exactly where you want to have that bottle up. Going to go ahead and say this Alchemist having a lot of trouble. Maybe not used to playing this Alchemist mid. Of course, who is? So, the early Acid Spray was a strong call. Early stun, get it a level up or two. Strong call. Getting the max stun up from 175 before early game obviously hasn't been working out. I don't think he's gotten any kills on this Dragon Knight. Yeah, no, this Dragon Knight has no deaths. It's been forced out of lane once. And is, as far as levels, actually, yeah, tied up with the Alchemist. Alchemist pops his stun, but Dragon Knight hears it. He's just going to retreat back to his tower. There is going to be a net in the tower along with the stun. Visage is here as well. KAR is going to go for the Acid Spray, and Rubik is here. There's going to be a list on the Visage in the tower. The Visage is going to go down. Dragon Knight running around the tower. The Naga Siren wants this, and she's using her illusions to tank up the tower, but she has to back off. She can't go ahead and fight 2 in the tower. A very nice turnaround. Wonderful reaction out of that Visage. Just stand an F. Really making himself known. He has been a part of every kill that his team... And he's going to go ahead and grab another lift. Pull back. There's the stun coming out of the DK. And I heard the stun coming out of the Alch, but it's too little too late. That is actually going to go ahead and get the Rubik. But that's a trade they're willing to make all day. Alchemist might have needed that gold, but DK now sitting on level 8. Alchemist probably sitting on level 8 as well. Net worth. 2 heroes for 1. A nice play out of the Alchemist salvaging something out of that gank. But honestly, like I said, just a little too late. The train had already left the station on that train. Excuse me. This Naga Siren's probably going to be decently farmed up. They do have 1 ward up here. Maybe the other one got counter-warded. And the Dragon Knight's just going to pop his DD and charge in. Misha harassing out the Alch. His ult is going to get him back up to fighting shape here in just a minute. But it looks like he is going to go all the way back to base anyway. Probably, he does have a TP. He will probably buy another one and TP back out. See what the Gyrocopter is sitting on. Phase boots now. We are going for the speed build here with the Gyrocopter. With the Indy 500 Gyrocopter. I'm pretty sure missiles are illegal in that sport. But, you know, never know. And the Weaver. We have... not a terrible build considering his early start. He does have boots up, which is more than I might expect, and he's going to probably pop a potion here. Backing up. Nope, he's going to go ahead and take these. He can't contest this. If this Weaver gets a stun on him, he's done. Yeah, they've got vision. There's the lift, and he's going down. It's going to be a Rocket Barrage, and yep. I don't think Weaver even has his ult yet. Yeah, no, level 5. He really should have popped that salve. Should have known that that was coming out. Yeah, the Sentry Ward was in inventory that time. A nice Miscoil coming out of this support Abaddon. And that Abaddon didn't even need to go in an Emphatic Shield or anything on that. There is some action bottom. There is... No, it looked like some action. Turned out it wasn't. Let's go and... Oh, there's the net. There's the...